Okay, welcome everyone to our, I think it's our 11th webinar. Okay, we've got some romantic music playing. So I hope you're all looking forward to our new webinar on Valentine's Day in the English classroom. And just welcoming Rebecca, who's our new Junior Academic Manager.
Hi, everyone.
We'll just wait for more people to join us. So hopefully in about 5 minutes, we will be ready. So grab a glass of wine or a cocktail for the romantic evening.
Maybe we should have sent chocolates out, Josh.
Yeah, we should have chocolates here. I think I'm out of chocolate in my house. I'm sure there'll be a lot arriving on Monday. Monday?
Yeah, on Monday. From all your millions of secret admirers.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Just wait for more people to arrive. Guys, if you want to tell us where you are at the moment in the chat, that would be great. I'm in Naples, Italy. Where are you, Rebecca, at the moment? In Yorkshire?
I am in North Yorkshire. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Marina asked if you'll receive the slides. You won't get the slides, but you'll get a handout which has all the information, okay? And even more than there is on the slide, so it'll be more useful, okay? If anyone wants to send chocolates my way, that would be appreciated.
It's probably easier to send them to Naples than England right now.
A bit of Cadbury dairy milk would be nice.
I'll see what I can do, Josh.
Okay, we'll just give it another couple of minutes. Still people are arriving in. Oh, we've even got Switzerland. Oh. If anyone wants to tell us what they're planning for Valentine's Day in the chat, we'd be very interested. I think I'm planning like a film at my house by myself.
That's something. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe a nice romantic walk with the dogs.
Yeah. Maybe you'll meet someone on the walk. Huh?
Who knows?
Or maybe the dog will meet another dog.
Probably more likely the dogs.
Quite a sexy song we have in the background here, Valentine's Day theme. I didn't know this, I didn't plan this.
It's okay, Maria Teresa loves the music, so well done, Josh.
Thank you for the compliment, Maria Teresa. One of my favorites, I think. Marvin Gaye. Good evening, everyone. Give it a couple more minutes. let's say 2 more minutes until 6:05, and then we'll start. Stop the music and we'll get going.
A cereale. I lived in a cereale, Valeria.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I used to work for Redbus. Yeah. What a coincidence.
Okay, just 1 more minute and we'll get going on the special Valentine's Day edition of our refresher course. Yeah.
Valeria, I worked for Rebecca Lees. She's a very good friend of mine.
Okay, we'll bring down the music a little, I'm afraid. Okay, maybe a little bit more music sometime during. Maybe Rebecca will sing. Okay.
You never know.
Not promising anything. Okay. Guys, thank you everyone for joining us. Okay. There may be some people coming soon. I'd just like to introduce everyone. If you're regular or if you're a returner or if you're new, I'd like you to introduce you to Rebecca. Okay. Rebecca's started working for MLA as the junior academic manager, and but she's also been working many years for MLA in different centres. She worked with me on the cruise last summer, and I think you were what the assistant director of studies in several centres before that.
Yes.
So you might recognise her from different places.
Maybe, but I have changed my hair color.
Ah,
So.
hang on just one moment. So let's just get going. Okay, I think let's introduce it. One moment, I just need to get rid of this music. Okay, guys, just to let you to remind you that we always have a certificate of participation and a webinar handout. Okay, so we won't be giving you the slide, but we'll be giving you even better. All the information will be on the handout. Okay, and we have some other useful links and any worksheets you'll see there in the presentation, and even one extra that you don't see in the presentation will be there. Okay. Don't forget to email us at formazione. Okay. Please remember that a few people every week for some reason or another don't receive these, so I think we tend to get a couple of emails. We always send the certificate and the webinar handout very soon after. Okay. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay. So just as the introduction, as I'm sure everyone knows, next Monday is February the 14th, Valentine's Day. And so we thought we'd give you some ideas, activities that you can use on Valentine's Day, or tomorrow if you want, Saturday if you're working on Saturday, or any day of the year really, because love and romance are not just for one day, okay, of the year. Okay. Rebecca, do you want to read this one?
I think the majority of you will have visited one of our summer camps. And it does happen that romance is more important to some of the students than English. But we thought we would give you some language to pass on to your students to help them express themselves better in English. And hopefully some of the activities will grab their attention and get them using their imagination.
Yeah, I think it's often seen as French and Italian as the languages of love, but I think English is in there. Maybe not so much the actual the sound of the words, but I think all of the things expressed. I mean, where would we be without Romeo and Juliet? Okay, the music, if you heard before, of Marvin Gaye or Prince, okay, the novels of Jane Austen, or the film Casablanca. I'm sure if you want to add any more of those in the chat, okay, I think you've probably got some better ideas than me. Okay. Another thing you could add in the chat, if you like, is what have you used this theme, okay, love and romance, in your English classes? Okay, let us know if you've ever done a Valentine's Day themed lesson, or you've done some things. I'm sure a lot of people have taught Romeo and Juliet or Jane Austen. Okay, so please let us know that. Okay, but
Ilaria has. Ilaria, what did you do?
just while we're waiting for people to tell us about that, we thought we'd go through the objectives. Okay, the first one is you should be well able to incorporate themes of love and romance into your English lessons in the future. Rebecca, do you want to take the second one?
To better plan activities which use love and romance as a motivational tool for students to learn English.
We're going to be preparing activities which capture the students' imaginations. And
identify and explain some characteristics of love poetry in English.
Great. Oh, good. Ilaria's got some great ideas of idioms, phrasal verbs. Okay. Oh,
Gaetano too.
Okay. I think Rebecca's going to talk about this first part, so I'll leave it to her.
Okay. So something which is a good tool to use in the classroom is CLIL, so content and language integrated. And this can help broaden your students' vocabulary in all subjects. We decided to have a look at history, and I managed to find a short video about the history of Valentine's Day, which is in the handout.
Yeah, so, okay, just some questions. Why do we celebrate love on February the 14th? Okay, so again, if you want to put it in the chat, but we will watch a video in a moment, which I think will explain this. Okay.
Also, how long have we been celebrating love on Valentine's Day? Is it a recent thing? Does anybody know the answer? And how did the name Valentine's Day come about? We know there's Saint Valentine, but what did he do to have this day named after him?
Okay. We're going to watch a short video. Unfortunately, we couldn't put it on the slides, but we're actually going to change the screen. So just bear with me a moment, and you should be able to watch it. For anyone that has any problems, I think Rebecca's going to put it in the chat. In the chat, but don't worry, I'm going to share my screen in a moment with the video. So give me one moment.
Oh. A little bit geography.
Okay, so pay attention. There'll be some questions after, and these questions can also go to your students later.
2,000 years ago, the most powerful army in the world belonged to the Romans. The Romans were so strong that they conquered almost all of Europe and parts of Asia and Africa. But then they began to grow very rich and a little bit lazy. Life in the army was harsh, and many of the soldiers longed for the comforts of home. They wanted to get married and set up families. The emperor, whose name was Claudius II, grew worried that his army was growing soft. And so he made a law that no soldier was allowed to get married. By that time, many of the Romans were Christians, and one of their leaders was a bishop called Valentine. He believed that if a man and woman fell in love with each other, they should get married. And so he decided to let soldiers get married in his church, even though now it was against the law. The soldiers' weddings were meant to be kept secret, but as you know, all secrets are hard to keep, and soon the word got out. Valentine was arrested and brought before the emperor, who demanded that he stopped helping soldiers to marry, and instead that he prayed to the gods of Rome. When he refused, the emperor sentenced him to death. While Valentine was in prison, the jailer's daughter used to bring him his food. She was a young woman who was unfortunately blind. She and Valentine used to spend long hours talking to each other, and soon they fell in love. One day, Valentine put his hand through the bars of the cell and touched the lids of her closed eyes. When she opened them again, she could see. It was a miracle. Valentine's execution was set the 14th of February. On his last night on earth, he wrote his final message to the girl. He signed his love letter, "From your Valentine." This took place in the year 270, and ever since, lovers have sent each other messages on February the 14th with the same signature. And that's the story.
Okay, a cute little video there. Go back and see if you remember what they are. So, moment. Okay, let's see if you're paying attention. Okay, so you can put these questions in the chat. Rebecca, do you want to read off the questions? Okay.
So there were two adjectives used to describe the Roman army after their success. What were they? There was a secret which was just too hard to keep. What was it?
Oh, through there.
A miracle happened. Again, what was the miracle?
Sorry, one moment.
And when was the first ever Valentine sent?
Okay, I think we've got quite a few of those already. I
Yeah.
think some people have said
Look,
the adjectives
blind.
they were lazy.
they were lazy and soft. Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
well done.
Which
the
secret was too hard to
secret.
keep? Was it secret weddings?
Yes, secret weddings, secret
Oh, I had
marriages.
that. Okay.
The miracle was that she gained her sight.
Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant. And the first ever Valentine was sent in the year 270.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Brilliant. Well done, guys.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
attentive.
We've got that handout will be in the handout. Okay. The worksheet will be in the handout. Okay. There's more questions than just those. And also, sorry.
No, I was going to say also at the bottom, there are some topics for discussion with your students to get them thinking more. Have we lost the true meaning of Valentine's Day? Should we only share our feelings, our emotions, and show them on Valentine's Day, or should we tell people we love them more often? Just to get your students thinking.
I think once a year is enough. Okay. You don't want to tell people too often that you love them. Okay.
I guess
Makes them
makes them soft.
Really, yeah. Okay. I don't know. You may disagree. Okay? Rebecca is going to tell you a little bit more about speed dating, and a fun activity you can do in your classrooms too.
Just out of curiosity, has anyone been speed dating?
In real life, you mean?
Yeah, I haven't.
I would never admit it.
Would you not?
No.
I think if I had been, I probably would admit it, but I haven't. But this is a really good married since the Middle Ages.
Married since the Middle Ages. Okay. Bit after Valentine's, so
No need for that. But this is a really good activity, which we sometimes use in the summer schools to get the students to know one another. Obviously, if you're teaching in a state school, it's a bit not more difficult, but it needs a bit more imagination, shall we say, for it to work. So if you could,
oh, sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say you could ask your students what they know about speed dating, because I'm sure they will have heard it. And then
Okay, so
the first thing you could do is get your students to create a new personality. If they could be anybody, who would they be? So think about their personality, their job, interests. Perhaps they have a peculiar habit. What ambitions do they have?
could even be like they could plan, like, make themselves a famous figure, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
Or a invented person. It could be Peter Parker, but you know, Spider-Man, something like that. Right?
Yeah. Then again, this is eliciting what your students know and also any ideas that they have, because what we need to do is encourage creativity and for them to use their imaginations. So get them to think about questions that would be asked in such an event, and then come up with maybe 10 questions which they would ask people who they are going to meet.
Yeah, these are great because you get the question formation. Maybe the teacher could come around and check that the questions are correct. Okay?
Exactly.
Great way of you know, like
Revising.
task-based learning, you know, that they have to do this and it's going to pay off at the end. And God knows these might be questions they might use in their future when they move to England or go on holiday to New York. Yeah.
And then traditionally, you've got the two rows, the girls and the boys. Marriage agency form. Ooh, a good question. We'll come back to that one. But we'll get the girls to sit down and the boys will move around and spend maybe 2 minutes asking questions and getting to know one another.
What you can do, like I think we talked about in the music webinar, that sometimes instead of using a stopwatch or something like that, what you can do is put on a playlist, and every time a song finishes, okay, move them on, okay, you know, as long as they're short songs, okay, you know, maybe some sexy music songs. Okay? Be careful what you look for there, maybe. Okay?
Sometimes, no, classical music could be too lengthy. And generally, once each boy has moved around and spoken to every girl, the activity would finish. And they would then think about who they would like to spend more time with as a friend.
Sometimes what works in some things is if you can work out, you know, if the boy and the girl both want to spend more time with each other, then they get 5 minutes to talk to each other extra. Okay. But if a boy wants to talk to a girl and she doesn't want to talk to him, then unfortunately no. Okay, goodbye. Okay, so but they've got to maybe like choose 2 or 3 people, okay, at least. Okay. or maybe all of them. You know, just play the numbers. Okay.
Options open.
Yeah. And just that last one. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a very light-hearted and fun activity with the main focus on speaking. And should they invent a character or take on a persona, it also includes some acting. So you can get your students to engage much more than maybe they would if they were held in the classroom.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you're doing things like question formation, I think it's always great to give them a motivation to ask these questions.
Yeah.
You know, something like that is really going to, you know, what's better than asking a girl about her interests or a boy. Okay. Okay, so we've got also a handout in the with the instructions. You probably won't need a handout, a worksheet, okay, but we do have the instructions in there, okay, and they're all there. We won't go through them now, okay. I've also put in a video that has some other information that Rebecca found, telling you a bit more details about how to run it. You know, but they're really popular, and I know in the summer schools where I've been working, there's been a lot of teachers who love doing these. Okay, every time they get a new bunch of students in, they love doing it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I'm taking over here.
You, Josh.
What a few people have been asking about literature. Okay, so I thought we'd do a little bit of literature here. I'm a literature graduate back in the Middle Ages. Okay, actually no, because we did Shakespeare maybe just a little short time after Shakespeare. Okay, but I just thought we'd talk a little bit about the Shakespearean sonnet. Okay, because as you probably know, the sonnet's a form that derives from Italian literature. Okay, but it's pretty much universal anyway in Western languages now. Okay, so it derives from poems written in the court of Frederick II in Palermo in the 13th century, but it came into English through translations and imitations of the, let's say, the late Middle Ages, or you could maybe even say early Renaissance poets such as Dante and Petrarch. Petrarch may be on the border, I'd say, of the Renaissance. Okay? English, as you probably know, in comparison to Italian, is rather rhyme poor. We have so many vowels that it's kind of hard to get vowels to rhyme to each other. The accent can be on different parts of the word. Okay, so instead of the interlocking rhyme scheme that you have in Petrarch's sonnets, they simplified it a bit so that it goes A, B, A, B in the first quatrain, C, D, C, D in the second, E, F, E, F, and then you have a general final couplet. In that way, you don't really have to find more than one rhyme for any word, okay? Obviously, these sometimes are a bit changed, so you will find versions of the Petrarchan sonnet. And in fact, the first ones that came into English were by this man on the right, okay? The Earl of Surrey, and he generally imitated the Italian rhyme scheme. The problem is having too many rhymes does tend to mean your rhymes aren't often so good. You're sort of looking for a word that rhymes rather than a word that really represents the what you want to say. Okay, so while Italian you can do a lot of things like terza rima and Dante or whatever, in English it's often not so good, and a lot of contemporary sonnets are even in blank verse. Okay. Another characteristic of the Shakespearean sonnet, and to be honest, English poetry in general, is the Iambic Pentameter. I'm sure a lot of people have taught this to their students. Okay, it became popular in English with the father of English poetry, Chaucer, and you know, a few hundred years or 100 or so years before Shakespeare, and it consists of a 10-syllable line. Okay, divided into alternate weak and strong syllables. A weak syllable followed by a strong syllable is an iamb, and pentameter, obviously 5, a meter made up of 5 of these. Okay, one of the sonnets we'll be looking at, that I'm sure you're familiar with has a very good example of very standard iambic pentameter. Okay, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see. So if we see that, we have so long as men can breathe or eyes can see. Now, obviously, we're not going to exaggerate it in that sort of way, but if I read that, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, it has a steady rhythm, but it's not really so noticeable. Okay, so Shakespeare was not necessarily a stickler for form. Okay, so he's not afraid in his sonnets, in his plays, to add syllables or even to invert the iambs at times. Okay, in fact, really the strength of the iambic pentameter line is that it mimics normal everyday speech. Okay, in fact, this is where it comes from in Chaucer. That Chaucer, quite possibly one of the reasons why he liked the iambic pentameter in the Canterbury Tales is that it's generally people speaking, okay, telling their stories. It's a group of tales, as you probably know. And the iambic pentameter is fantastic because it balances between being very natural but also slightly poetic. Okay, Shakespeare uses it a lot in his plays too. Some of the plays, a lot of the plays are written a lot in just prose, but they often go into verse as well. And when we talk about the verse there, it's generally unrhymed iambic pentameter, often known in English as blank verse. If we're looking at Shakespeare's Sonnet 18, often known as 18, or often known as Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day by its first line, as Shakespeare didn't really give any titles to, as far as we know, to the sonnets. Okay, it really, we're going to look at this and another one just to show how Shakespeare manages to play with a few of the similes and metaphors, okay, in a way that really, I don't know if any other poets really can match it. Maybe some poets like John Donne does some amazing things with metaphors. But anyway, if we look at this poem, Sonnet 18, we're going to look at it. Now, it is like a few of the poems there that it's hard to distinguish whether they're love poems to a woman or to a man, okay? But this one particularly seems to be to a fair youth, as he's once referred to in the poems. And it's not quite clear who it was, quite possibly this man in the photo, in the picture, okay? But it seems he was fascinated by his beauty. And one of the things that the poems focus on is the urge to procreate in order to pass on his beauty. However, in this poem, he takes a little different point of view and actually is quite self-referential, referring to immortality in his poetry. Okay? So I'm going to attempt to read it here. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaf hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. One of the great things about this poem is the sort of delight that Shakespeare has in the actual form of the poem itself. Okay? It's actually, as a lot of his poems, and in fact even a lot of his plays are sort of self-referential, okay? That they talk about themselves as plays, as poems, okay? And the idea of immortality. Okay? The traditional Petrarchan sonnets, and they're obviously their imitations and translations, they use these elaborate metaphors to describe the beauty. Okay, here again, sort of similar to the other, or the other poem does it in a different way. He looks for similes, but finds each one unsatisfactory, each one wanting. Okay, there can be no comparison to the summer. Okay, which can be marred by winds, heat, or clouds, and is transient. Okay, so he doesn't really want to emphasize the transience of the man's life. Okay, in this, as in most Shakespeare sonnets, you have what is called what is known as the Volta. Okay, coming from the Italian word, where the tone of the poem changes. Okay, in English we know it as the Volta as well. In Sonnet 18, it comes quite early. Okay, so it comes up at the beginning of the third quatrain, so after 8 lines. Okay, and this is where the poet starts introducing the theme of immortality. So if we go back, okay, it's this sort of just over halfway through, but thy eternal summer shall not fade. Okay. Ironically, in this poem, the poet can't claim immortality for the youth's beauty in itself, but only through the sonnet. So it seems that the sonnet is about how the youth's beauty will outlast the summer only by being captured in the lines of the poem. Often Shakespeare does this in the way that he indicates that as a poet, maybe he's actually got a power that nature doesn't have or beauty doesn't have. Okay? And again, it's the couplet lets the readers know that by the very fact we're reading the poem, 400 years after his death, okay, the youth has become immortal after his birth, I think it is. Okay. Another poem we have is 130, which is a very famous poem. Okay, and as someone referred to in the chat, okay, we have. I'll read it now. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen rose damask, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. In this one, we sort of have Shakespeare almost parodying or satirizing a Petrarchan sonnet, okay? And even his own poems in other places. Okay, some I've heard some people even talking about it as quite misogynistic by talking about her breath reeking. Okay, instead of searching for metaphors and coming up short, as in the previous one, here he actually negates them and says, not like sun, not like coral, not like snow, not like roses, perfume, music, or goddesses, no. Okay? He's saying that he can't see any similarities between these and his mistress. Okay, the only similarity he sees, he actually affirms, is between the lover's hair and black wires. Okay, obviously, wire here obviously doesn't refer to electrical wires. What I looked it up, and wire here would refer to very fine jewelry. Okay, often worn as a necklace or a hairnet, and that would be gold. Okay, so we wouldn't think of wires. I mean, to be honest, black wires is sort of a normal conjugation now, whereas in that time it would be like saying, a black ring or something like this instead of a gold ring. Okay, so just the idea that he said wires and then he put black there sort of contradicts it in a certain way. Okay. Here, the Volta comes at the beginning of the couplet, so the last 2 lines. Okay. However, there is a little bit of a subtle shift before that prepares us for it. Okay. If you see, and this can be good for the students, see if they can spot it, that rather than the notes of disgust that you find in the first and the second quatrain, the third starts to admit that while her voice is not music, he does actually like it. He loves to hear her speak. And that while she doesn't float like a goddess in the air, she walks on the ground, and in that sense, literally down to earth, which is, in these cases, he loving to hear someone's voice or someone walking along the ground is not necessarily as bad as, I don't know, saying someone reeks. Okay. And in the end, it sort of achieves a little bit of magic there. Okay? The poet insists that his love is as rare as, and maybe even rarer than, any other lover that is falsely compared, belied, meaning falsely compared, to such extravagant things such as roses, perfume, and music. Okay? So in this case, we just realize at the end that he's not actually disparaging his lover. Okay? That here it was actually there to stress how much he sees and praises the real woman, not the false exaggeration. Okay? Remember that in this case, he's sort of saying that, by comparing people to these extravagant things, the sun, the perfume, music, things like that, we're actually not seeing the real woman. Okay? Whereas he's saying these poets can talk about these amazing women, the Laura figure or Beatrice, whereas he's going to talk about a real woman who, we know that not everyone's perfect. Everyone, you might have coffee breath in the morning. Okay?
You weren't supposed to tell everyone, Josh.
I was talking about myself. Okay. All of that, the poems, obviously, which are easy to find, but also some links of people reading them. I've got there some very good actors who Shakespearean actors. I've also got all this commentary that I wrote about it. Okay? Just to conclude, okay, let's have a look for a moment. Okay. Whether it's dating games, listening exercises, or literature, okay, I think you can see that that love and romance is going to be a really great topic, okay, and it'll add something special to your classes. Okay. Why not also, you could ask them to write a sonnet of their own, or find an English translation of a famous love poem by Dante or Petrarch. Again, on the web, you'll find these. Okay. See if people could do a better translation, or, translating back. Again, I'm not saying really translation is a fantastic way of learning English, but for literature, it often can be interesting to see how well someone's understood it. Okay. Rebecca, do you want to take this part?
Yes. So often we use this Valentine's Day poem. Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. And it's a common thing that we do from primary school all the way up. But it can be altered. So the third and sometimes also the fourth line can vary according to the writer and your relationship with who you're writing for.
You can see some of the ones I found on the web in the pictures, okay? But be a little careful, there's a lot of vulgar ones too.
And we have also got a worksheet in the handout that you could give your students to get their imaginations going and see what they could come up with.
Yeah, you'll find they're quite easy too, because to be honest, you don't even need to, the rhythm doesn't need to be so strict anyway. For example, sugar is sweet is 4 syllables, whereas onions stink 2. That's 3, sorry. Okay. So, and again, as you can see, onions stink can make it turn it right the other way. Okay. It's a poem that very commonly will be found in Valentine's Day cards. So again, Valentine's Day cards could be a great activity to do as well. Okay. Just to finish off, I was wondering if whether students would like to play their most romantic song, talk about it a little bit like we talked about in the music webinar. Okay. Talk about their favorite romantic film, TV series, or book, and feel free if you want to put any of your favorite romantic or love poetry, films, songs, TV series, or books in the chat. I'm sure we're going to get Titanic in there if it's not all there already. Okay. Anyway, just a moment. Just to finish, remember that you can always email us. You can always comment on things on Facebook, or if you want any suggestions, you can always email us at Formazione. If you have any suggestions, put them in the chat now if you like. Okay. We're always looking for great ideas, and I really say a big thank you to Rebecca, who came up with this idea, okay, as Valentine's Day approaches. Okay. Thanks everyone for your attention. Okay, and I just repeat, you'll receive a certificate and you'll receive a handout containing worksheets, links, and things. Okay. So please.
Oh, Animal Farm.
Animal Farm, yeah. I think we're looking at maybe incorporating a bit of literature into some future things, a bit like we did today. Instead of devoting one just to literature, I think what we might try to do is put in some bit of literature in each one. I do like the idea also about the environment things. I think that's a really good idea. Okay.
Which we use a lot on the cruise ship.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. In fact, yeah, we had in the task time book, we had a lot of things on the environment there, and in fact, it's a common thing in our textbooks. Right. In 2 weeks, we're going to have another webinar by Francesca, our MLA blogger. Okay. That will be on the theme of Harry Potter and fantasy. I'll be there, but it'll be generally conducted by her, and it'll be primarily in Italian, okay, which, you know, some people would like it more in English, but I think we'll give you a little bit of a break, and there will be parts in English anyway, okay? But Francesca's got some great ideas about using Harry Potter and other fantasy things in your classes, okay? I think it's much better done by her than by me, who has never seen a Harry Potter film or read a Harry Potter book. Okay?
Me neither. You're not alone, Josh.
Okay. So, guys, thank you again, and thank you, Rebecca. Okay? You'll be seeing a lot more of her in our webinars in the future, I hope. And I'll leave you, and happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Okay? I hope you have a great one.
I hope everyone gets a lovely Valentine.
Yeah, I hope you get what you deserve, and I hope you give whatever other people deserve. Okay, in a good way, I hope.
A positive way.
Okay. Bye bye. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Bye.
Okay.